Welcome back to Jennifer Broussard Art. Today let's go to Hawaii and paint this beautiful rainbow and palm tree by Aloha Mahalo on Pixabay. Today I'm going to use this 5x7 hot press block by Meeden and 3 colors by DaVinci Red Rose Deep, Arylide Yellow FGL, and Phthalo Blue. And here I am making a puddle of each color that we see in a rainbow. For mixing purposes in practice, I decided to go ahead and mix all of the colors in the rainbow, but you could actually just do the 3 colors, and then yellow would turn red to orange and blue to green for you. I'm adding a little bit of yellow to the Red Rose Deep to make it more red and less pink. So now I'm going to make a plain yellow puddle. And now a green puddle by adding a little bit of yellow to the blue. And now a blue puddle on its own. And then a purple puddle. Now I have my 1/2 inch flat, and I am wetting from the line all the way down to the corner. I started the line about 1/3 of the way down on the right and about 1/4 of the way over on the left. So I am wetting the whole shape so that we can do the rainbow damp and damp. I'm going to let the water absorb for about a minute and make sure that this shape is evenly wet. I'm going to use my number 2 brush, and you can see that the water is evenly coating that shape. So I'm going to use my number 2 brush now and do the first line of color with red. I am going to wick the extra moisture out of the brush with a paper towel. I'm just getting it out of the belly. And I'm going to try to do it in one swoop. But it turned out I didn't have enough moisture on my brush to make it all the way. So it just takes a second to kind of get the idea. And you want to hold the brush up on its tip. You'll see that the paint is moving into the wet part of the shape. And that's okay. Now we're going to add orange. So we're going to put the orange color directly next to the red color, but we are also not going to be afraid to go over the red a little bit so that we can keep our rainbow on the thin side. I did a practice one and it came out about 2 inches thick. And then we'll proceed with the rest of the colors. Now I'm getting out the eradicator brush and I'm going to soften the top of the rainbow so that it blends into the sky a little bit better. I dip it into the water and then gently scrub it back and forth along the area I want to soften. and dab it up with a paper towel. Now with my 1/2 inch silver black velvet, I'm going to wet the entire paper right over the rainbow. Okay, now I've got water evenly distributed around the entire page, and I'm getting some Phthalo Blue in a light value and dabbing it around. I should have waited for the paper to absorb the water a little bit longer because it's just kind of sitting on top. So I'm going to have to get a damp brush and move things around a little bit. But here I'm getting a little bit of gray. And the yellow has a mind of its own, so I'm going to make a dam. And all I do is make a dry spot on the plate so that the yellow won't seep into the gray. So I'm adding a little bit of red to the blue. And then a little bit of yellow. I'm going to make sure I don't drag it in so that I don't create another waterway. And I have a gray now, and I lightened it with some water. And I'm putting it around sort of at the bottom of the white areas. So the white is the clouds, and I want the clouds to have a little bit of shadow. This left-hand side is a darker value than the right-hand side of the rainbow. So I'm adding a little more gray to that side. I'm trying to be very loose about this and keep it looking fresh and natural, using plenty of water. Adding color and then taking it off a little bit to see how it looks or how it might mix. So that little valley has accumulated a lot of water and pigment, so I slanted the pads onto a paper towel so I could just wick up that extra water. A little more blue. Here I'm using just a damp brush to get up some more of that water. And I'm going to spread that blue around. A damp brush. Now some more gray. Putting it on, taking it off. Going to leave that little spot there because I like how that was separating. And then dabbing out some clouds with a paper towel, adding pigment back in. So just play with yours and look at the reference photo and try to get some values in the sky. I am going to do a second layer on the sky once this dries. The reference photo shows a lot more gray right here with a light blue coloring over here. Not really light blue, but a lighter gray, like the sun is hitting the rainbow right here and it's really bright. So I'm going to wet the rainbow. So when I get a tide line, it'll be a natural tide line. It'll be on the rainbow. And then I'm going to wet the rest of the sky. And I'm also going to try to get some gray onto this part of the rainbow without it wrecking the rainbow. I mixed a little bit of gray right here with the colors here. I just sort of put them together, and then I lessened the value with some water. So right here, And then here I'm going to go kind of onto the rainbow. I didn't let the water sink in that time. I kind of rushed it. So now I'm having to deal with water sitting on top. So learn from me. Okay. I like how that gray is just sort of sitting there. I'm going to put a little more. I'm going to increase the blue. I didn't want that to get on the red, so I'm going to take it off. I'm going to increase the color here. And then it kind of goes up into here. I think maybe a little more. The darker we make this, the brighter this will feel. It's also a little bit, let's see, it's blue right here. I'm gonna, there. Right about here, it's a bright blue. I don't want this to sit here in a puddle. Okay. Okay, I think this needs a little more. Damp brush. And I think I've lost the gray from right here. I think there's enough value change, at least right now while it's wet, from here to here. I like the blue patch here, and there's enough light right here so I can do the yellow of the palm tree. I think it has a little more depth now too. With that said, I am going to wet this and increase the value over here on the right side. So we have a little balance. There. It's a little brighter here. The sun's hitting it here, so I'm not going to put any more gray here. I'm going to put a little more up here. I'm going to add, I hope I don't regret this, I'm going to add a little green. I do regret that. Don't do that. Okay, and then smooth that out. Get that little whisker off, whatever that is. Put the tree more over here and have it come out right here instead of over here. That's our artistic license. We can do whatever we want, right? So I'm going to take off just a little bit of the blue so that I can get the yellow of the palm tree branches. There's one that comes off like this. Another one that comes off like this. And then there's just some other general other bright colors that are here. I'm just going to take off sort of a base for those. Do a little bit right here. Now I'm going to take my number 4 and I'm going to make a brown. So to make brown, I like to now make orange. I'm going to keep that orange. I'm going to make a new. I'm going to keep that for the branches that we were just discussing. I'm going to make an orange here. I know it looks a little bit green. It's more of a burnt sienna. More yellow. And then some blue. Okay, I want a darker brown. I'm just going to get a lot of blue and a lot of red. And now we're back to doing purple and turning it brown with yellow. That's a nice gray. And now we need some red. A little bit more red. And a little bit more yellow. There we go. That's pretty good. Now I'm going to start the tree with orange. And I'm going to wing it. I'm going to go right underneath this little base here. And I'm going to go all the way down, give it a little bend, and then fatten my brush towards the end. I'm going to do it again. And I did this because I see some light glowing on the front of the tree because the sun is shining directly at the tree. I'm also going to do the yellow here for the branches. This one's a little bit orange. This base here is pretty yellow. Okay, looks a little wonky. I'm going to now get the, actually going to dry this. Just surface dry it. Now I'm going to use the brown. I'm going to be careful up here because I want some of this to show. So I'm going to leave it out. I'm going right over the orange. It's pretty dark up in here. Come down. And here is where it starts to glow. So I'm going to use a number 2. Get some of this. And I'm going to just take this and come down the sides. Doesn't look very glowy, does it? I'm going to have to use a knife to pick out some of the glow. Same up here. I'm going to actually get some more orange. I'm going to get some more orange for down here. So what watercolor is, it's a lot of experimenting and seeing what happens. Sometimes we think something's going to happen and then it doesn't happen. And that makes us think about it. Okay, this is really dark up here. Get some more blue in this. Get a little red. A little more blue. Oh, there we go. That's a good dark. Sometimes mixing on the paper really helps. Now I'm going to go through with what I have on my brush, some really dark pigment, and do some little lines. This is a little more dry now, so it's easier to do. And then I'm going to take some of the brown and go along the edge. So that it looks more round. Some yellow. There, I think that looks good. Let's do that same thing up here. Get some good pigment on that brush. Okay. And now the fun part. All of these palm leaves. I'm going to make some different greens. I'm going to keep this color here. I'm going to keep the orange. I'm going to make like a puddle of green right here. There are lots of colors in these palm fronds. There's some yellow green. I get a little more blue here. Here's sort of a medium green. It's not quite a sap green, but I can add a little orange to that. Okay. Now we have, I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to just sort of put, there's one like that. From this one, this one goes here, but then there's one behind it that comes in front of it. And then there's a bunch of stuff up here. Okay, this one comes up like that. There's one here. This goes down like that. And then there's one from behind that goes behind and down below it. And then there's another little one right there. I'm going to start with my number 2 and see how it acts. See if it's big enough for this. So this yellow comes up like that. We're also going to see the whole palm tree in the photo. It's cut off. I'm going to let that one dry and work on these down here. So for that, we need a really dark green. I'm going to take some of this green and add it to this brown. And now we have a dark green. And I'm going to go, I want to try to leave enough room between the fronds for there to be sky showing through. And this one has fronds coming out both sides, meaning we can see each side of the stem. Okay. That doesn't seem dark enough, so I'm going to add some more blue. The tips of these are headed down. And just for fun, I'm going to add a little bit of red. Oh, shoot. That wasn't fun. Okay, we'll see if this works. If it doesn't, we can use a Mr. Clean magic eraser. Okay, red. Well, that's not dry, not wet anymore, so I can't really put the red in there for fun. So I'm going to now do this little one. And this one has some more orange, yellow and green right here on the tip. And back here, I'm going to add some of this green. Going to add some of the dark. And that will travel in to any of the fronds that are wet. Let's do this one in the back because it's lighter than the one in front. Some more of the green yellow. It's also sticking out on both sides of the stem. More yellow. Well, that's this one right here. So let's now do some darker. And we don't see the other side coming out like this, but it is still there behind these. So I'm going to let those dry and then put in some more color behind them. I'm going to actually make it a little darker. Let's let that dry and not do that one. Let's do this one up here. This one has some yellow. I'm going to actually make this yellow stem. Yellow-green stem. I'm going to get a little orange to put on that. There are so many colors in this thing. And I'm going to make the fronds come on, and they disappear behind these fronds. So I'm going to make them really short. These out here are not short. And they're blowing in the wind, so they're going every which way. I'm going to add a little bit of dark. Okay, let's leave that one and do this one. This one has a bunch of fronds going this way. And I'm going to make up this part. That's fun. That's more fun than trying to do it like the photo. Going to add some dark on this side. Now this on this side is kind of a big palm frond tangle. It's really tangled up. So we're just going to wing it. Get some yellow on this one. I'm going to get some orange. Some green. This one has some orange. And then some green coming off to the right. Add a little red to those. I know it seems weird to add red. Some light green. Now this really dark stuff hits the ends of these orange ones. So I'm going to put some more dark here. And I'm going to put some inside here. Okay, let's do this last one. Well, the one on the right is the last one on the right. Orange stem. And then some yellowy green fronds. And that orange will flow into there. And then there's one back here that's kind of coming out and being really dark over the top of this one. I am going to add a little dark to this one. Now let's do the other side of this, which I'm going to do in light. And then this is light. With a whole bunch of dark. So now we're going to let that dry again. And I'm going to come over here to this side and do this side dark. Okay, now this one has some really light fronds. To make it a little more interesting, I'm just going to make them come out like they're going crazy with the wind. I'm going to put a little orange on the stem. A little detail in here. A little bit of red. I love how that looks. Okay, I think that's all dry, and now I can do the dark, the big dark frond that's coming out of here. I think it's from behind all of this, and it goes over that one. Let's get some purple on this. Oh, there we go. And then the fronds come out this way. Look at all these colors we have going on there. Now this has a little bit of a bright color right here. I'm going to put some blue on that. There. And now take the dark again and come up inside that blue. There. That looks good. I like that. Let's come back to this one. Let's get some darker green, but not dark green. And get a little more orange. And then this one needs the dark underneath the light. So we're going to go like this. So some of that stem still shows, and just here and there, we're going to put some dark. And now here we're going to get some purple. We're going to add that in on this. Let's get some more purple on here. Get a little bit on there. A little bit up here. Let's get a little bit of red. And I want to add it right in here. Purple. Let's get a little purple on this orange. Just so it goes. There. A little bit more here. And then this one needs to be extremely dark. So we're adding purple. I still want to make sure that we see sky through the fronds. So, and now this is a really dark patch right here. It goes kind of up into that frond there. I like how that looks. I'm just going to enforce this dark a little bit more. Increase. Same here. And then here we have and then on this one, I want to take off some pigment to make a stem right there. And I think this one also needs a little bit of air. So this stem is yellowy orange. And this just has some air showing through. Seems like there's more value in here. I'm going to go between these fronds and add a little value with purple. I'm going to get some of the light green. Okay, and now I'm going to get purpley orange, I guess, would be like burnt orange, or burnt sienna, I mean. And I'm going to make some little coconuts, some little circle shapes here, just to bring all of this together. I'm going to put some dark purple in the little cracks here. There we go. I just have a little piece of magic eraser that I've gotten damp. Just dipped it in my water and wrung it out. I'm not going to be painting on this surface anymore, so it's okay with me if I mark the surface of the paper a little bit. Not super happy with that, but maybe I can just keep going. That can just be a cloud. Maybe when it's dry, I can get that off, the pilling off. I think that looks pretty good though. So Mr. Clean Magic Eraser comes in a big like rectangle sponge shape, and you just take a little bit off, get it damp, and that's how you get rid of marks on your paper that you don't want. I'm going to use it again on this. I want a little cloud here anyway, and there's a cauliflower, so we can just take it off. The last thing I want to do is use a little knife, and I want to pick out a little bit of highlight on the trunk. This is 140-pound cotton paper. If you're using anything less heavy than that, then I wouldn't do this. You might make a hole. The sun is glistening now after it's rained, and there are a lot of highlights on this tree trunk. And they kind of go all the way up to where the bend is. There. And then we have a few up here. There's one. I'm really just taking out what I covered with the brown, but it looks a little more precise when I do it with the knife. There. I'm going to add A little bit in there, and then a little bit up here. And I'm going to add just a little bit in, add to the chaos in these fronds by adding some white back in, especially over the darks. And I want to add some more in here because this all got turned into one blob of color. So there's a little more detail. And then out here. Let's see, and we can do a little bit on that, a little bit in here. Let's do a little bit on here. Right above, right on top of these purple fronds. There. I think the whole thing looks a little more sunny now. I think we just need a little bit at the top of this trunk. And there you have a really pretty palm tree with a rainbow, both symbols for Hawaii. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.